Tom, welcome to Timelines. You are in the war room,
Glad to be here.
and you're an Air Force Academy grad. Congratulations, class of '77, and you're running for United States Senate. So tell me something that the listener can really get into, that really grab the listener's attention.
Aren't you tired about career politicians who spend more time keeping their job than doing their job?
Well, I'm tired, that's for sure, but I guess the listener, I hope, hopefully, is tired too of career politicians. I think Trump has proven that.
I think so for sure. It's going to be interesting.
Well, Tom, on this first section, we want to go into your background and what you've done and what brought you to running for United States Senate. First of all, why are you running for Senate? What brings you to run?
Well, I grew up in the time when America was the land of opportunity. And it's where the American dream has gone today is pretty depressing. And I want to return this to the land of opportunity and return the American dream.
Now, you've done a lot. I've seen your resume and background, Air Force Academy grad, 22 years in the Air Force, civil engineer, working different jobs, positions, been overseas too, some island out in the South Pacific.
Right. I was out at Kwajalein at the Reagan Ballistic Missile Test Site running their logistics for 7 islands.
Wow. You've done a lot of stuff, and you've ended up here in Reno, and you're running for office. How long have you wanted to run for United States Senate?
I've been wanting to run for Senate for about 6 years and been basically baiting my time for the right opportunity.
What do you have to, it's, in this different states, it varies. What do you have to do here in Nevada to run for United States Senate?
Well, I think for one, you have to have a strong background so that you have credibility with the voters. The other thing, you have to register with the State Department for Nevada, and then you got to get out there and convince people that you're the guy they need to have representing them.
And then paperwork, FEC, and all that fun stuff, funds.
Well, yeah, the periodic reports, campaign reports, and then make sure you're following the FEC rules. That's correct.
So when does the voting start in Nevada?
The primary voting is June 14th,
Okay.
so there's about 45 days left.
Wow, it's getting close, and you're very. I appreciate you being here. You're on a tight schedule, and I know I just heard your commercial. We'll have to put your commercial up in the episode. It's down in Las Vegas right now, and you're driving forward. So what? I got to take advantage of this. What are your main points that you want to accomplish when you get into the Senate? What are the first three things you want to do or can do?
Well, I think the first thing is making sure that we start calling politicians on their stuff. There's so much effort to make everybody feel good, but there's not much effort to do the right thing and do things that matter for the voters. We're not making and continuing programs that are working. We keep continuing programs just because they're there, and we throw more money at them and not solving any problems.
So one of the most important things at your level at Senate, of course, is national policy and funding to fund the defense. How do you lay? How do you actually determine what's the most important thing to do as a United States senator?
Well, I think you have to focus on, what the critical needs. I think for me, the basis is the Constitution. If you look at a lot of the departments in the government, they're not departments mandated by the Constitution. DoD, Defense Department, is absolutely mandated by the Constitution that the government fund and keep them going. Unfortunately, there's a lot of other departments that we're spending hundreds of billions of dollars that are not required by the Constitution. I saw on the TV the other day 2/3 of a Navy squadron was non-operational, and they were cannibalizing parts. That is hugely costly.
That's going on in the Coast Guard right now. I can't talk too much because my son's a lieutenant. I don't want to get him in trouble. But he's pretty good about not complaining. But I know that they're short at times on parts and materials. And
Well, they also cut like almost 80,000 Army and Marines,
right,
and we can't afford that in this day and age. This time when we have people that are out there looking to kill Americans, we need to put ground troops on the ground,
right.
and we have to have those people to do it.
So that's a good lead in. What is your stance in what you'd say in the Middle East? What is your solution there?
You in the Middle East, you need to put ground troops on the ground. You need to take the territory, and you need to wipe them out.
The problem is we're stuck there for so many years. How do we get out of that area and leave it stable?
Well, the problem is we've been pussyfooting around there for almost 15 years. If you look at the Iraq War, that was a 100-day war.
Right.
There's no reason this can't be a 100-day war with a ragtag operation that's out there. But we keep bleeding Americans' finest and resources and not taking care of the problem.
Yep. Both in Afghanistan, we've got about 10,000 people left in Afghanistan. And then in Iraq was absolutely a disaster because they pulled everyone out. You need some force there, I would say, to stabilize it.
Well, that's what we did in World War II. We left the stabilizing force in Japan and
Hmm.
Germany for even to this very day.
That's so true. MacArthur and they put military officers in charge of rebuilding, not the State Department.
That's correct.
And he had the Marshall Plan back then, which he had, his Secretary of State, but he definitely from the military. Yep.
Well, it makes a difference when you're changing over like that, and you have cultures that only understand the autocratic way. You need to have autocratic people that can help them move along for a new day, so that there's freedom for all their people.
Yeah. Hey, stepping back, you're an Air Force Academy grad. What made you go into the Air Force out of high school?
My dad was a Marine. I liked the military approach, and I always thought that I'd get a good education there. And I would tell you that I loved being on active duty for 22 years.
Yeah, it's a good camaraderie. I miss the camaraderie myself. Now, your dad was a Marine. What do you think about you going to the Air Force?
He was very proud of me going to the Air Force, and to this very day, I think he was very proud of me.
Most Marines don't think much of the Air Force, the guys.
Well, that's true, but my dad, he was a World War II vet, a Korean vet with two Purple Hearts, so
Wow.
he was a pretty great guy.
How
He was
long was
also a pro football player.
really? Who did he play for?
Played for the San Francisco 49ers. Of course, after he was wounded, he could no longer play, but he did that. He was also a pro baseball player and a championship boxer on the Pacific Fleet, and he got an award, a 40 millimeter shell from Lieutenant Gerald Ford.
Wow. How long was he in the service?
I think Dad did it about 9 years, including reserve time after the wars.
That's how he ended up in Korea. He stayed in the reserves.
Yes.
Yep, a lot of guys. That was the bonus. He stayed in the reserves, and he all went to Korea. Hey, that's the greatest generation. What a generation! Episode 1, we interviewed the greatest generation. Is he still alive by any chance?
No, he's gone.
Yeah, they'd be in their 90s, well in their 90s by now.
Yeah, he was 87.
Yeah, that's a good life. That's a good life. And he led a hard life. He did some tough stuff. Was he in the islands, in the Marine Corps?
He was out in the Pacific, but I think the one thing that I would put in a plug for is that he had one of those things that no one had understood at those times. Just like today, we have vets that have symptoms that no one understands. Dad had PTSD.
Oh
He
yeah,
had an enemy Chinese guy jump in a foxhole at night one time, and he always had nightmares at night that sometimes were violent
from Korea. From Korea.
from Korea.
Yeah, we have a friend who passed away who stayed in the reserves actually after World War II. My dad said, "No, I'm not going to stay in," and he ended up in Korea in the front lines, pretty rough positions.
Yeah, I think this was Chosan Reservoir, and
Oh, he has a
yeah.
Marine. Yeah, he's in Choson. Whoa, that's some. Well, my hat's off to your dad and his generation. We appreciate. We're all here because of what they did. Hey, with that, we're going to go to a break. We're going to come back and talk a little bit more about your campaign, and then go into your life and success principles.
Sounds good.
See, it goes fast, and we're at the first break now. We'll come back off the break, and what I'll ask you. Let me see what I can ask you now. Let me see. Coming off the break. Okay, I got it. You ready to go?
Ready when you are.
All right, Tom, coming off the break, I really appreciate your first episode. Interesting background, very patriotic. By the way, you're in Reno, Nevada now you live, but what town, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in the Midwest in about 3 different cities in Indiana.
Hmm.
And then I went to high school in Florida. My dad took a job in Florida. He was a football coach all those years, and
Oh,
then Florida he became administrator.
so nice. That's nice. That's good. I mean, sounds like you love sports.
Yep, and that was really neat growing up as a kid. And he was teaching. He taught me sports you probably never even heard of, but he was really good at it. He was also a phys ed teacher, and I learned all kinds of sports, and I was pretty good at it. I was a quarterback in high school.
Oh, really? What other sports you play?
I played basketball. I did track. I did some judo in college. We did unarmed combat at the academy.
Hmm.
Um, Basketball. If there was a game we called it was flicker ball, handball, badminton. Anything you can think of, we pretty much did.
So did you, at the academy, did you play varsity sports?
I played my first year. I was a recruited football player at the
Yep.
academy. I played my first year, but after that, I decided that I had more important things I wanted to do.
It is brutal at the academies to be in sports, and the whole academy environment is a tough environment, as we know with the 4 years.
Yeah, most people don't know it. It's like taking a drink from the fire hose. The academics there.
Yep, and the discipline and everything else. At least they lock you in so you can't go out too much. So very good. So if you'd give some advice to young people right now, and they're in high school, what would you tell them about going to school in the future?
Well, I would tell them first and foremost that if that going to school opens opportunities for them, and the more schooling they get, the more opportunities that are going to open for them, and to persevere and not give up. I think what I always tell people that I know who are striving for new things is the hardest part is starting. And if you really understand that, it's getting over that threshold where you think you just can't get there or you can't make it. But once you start, 99 times out of 100, you finish. And the thing that I learned from my parents that I think I'll never forget is never quit.
Never quit. I
So,
like that. That could be in your life and success principles, which is coming up. In fact, we can go into those right now. You have five, and the first one is accountability. That sounds like something someone from the military would talk about. What does accountability mean to you?
well, it means accountability for yourself. In other words, you need to be following the same rules. We always said walk the talk. Basically, that's what that's about. But also holding other people accountable. I think a lot of problem in our government agencies are we have leaders in those agencies that are not holding people accountable, and things aren't getting done. And other people that are really good at what they're doing suffer by hanging along with that mediocrity.
You know, I think you can relate to this, but you said something that's very true. Inherently, government and civil service, which you've been in and out of, you've done the active duty in the military, and then you've done the civil service. The military is one thing. They get things done. It's kind of a disciplinary thing. They don't have to play by the same rules. But in the civil service side, that's where government grows and gets bloated and really sucks up a lot of assets. What do you do to keep government small? What can be done?
Well, I think what you have to do, it starts at the top. It's the political people in charge that basically want to keep everybody happy. What they need to do is to stay out of some of these disciplinary issues and let the administrative process take its course so that it's fair and balanced. But what oftentimes is the politicians, somebody complains to them, they interject themselves and they deviate a process and make it unfair. And then everybody below that gets demoralized and they don't want to work as hard either.
They try to look like a good guy on the
That's right.
taxpayer's dollar.
And it's a loser for the organization.
And so the people who are working hard, working tough, don't get any bit more benefit than the person who's not working and
Yeah.
producing.
Why should I work so hard when all these other ones were having to carry?
Yeah. And that said, there are a lot of good people in civil service. We've both been in and out of it, but that's so true. I'm in. I mean, and it also gets government has a tendency to grow too.
Well, I think the good people are frustrated too, because there's a whole majority of them that want to do the right thing, but you've got all these other complainers that don't want these people to proceed and be successful.
Yeah, very true, very true, and it grows slow. Hey, that said, your second principle is follow up. What does follow up mean to you?
Well, just because you say you want something done, even in the military, you have to do what I call the touch test. You got to go out there and touch it. That's why military people are so successful. They don't listen to two or three levels of management telling them this is done or this is how far it is. They go out and look and they touch it. And that touch test is what's key to knowing what's really going on, not trusting what you're hearing.
That is so true. When I was a young officer at Fort Benning, of all places, and I was out in the field with a platoon. In the middle of the night, a general walked up and started talking to me. A general. I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, it
Like
is.
2 o'clock in the morning.
Well, that's what's called leadership, at all times.
Yeah, and it was raining. It was raining.
When I was at Travis Air Force Base, I took a contingent of 100 people to Florida, and the way the military worked, I had divided up the responsibilities into a pie and had divvied them out. So when I got hit on the ground in Florida at Eglin Air Force Base, all I worried about was getting the guys a hot meal and making sure that the tents and the billets were set up.
Yeah, yeah. That's another thing. No one talks about that. But food is so important to organizations. It's hard to explain.
Hot food.
Hot food actually makes a difference from coming in. You get a hot food, you actually get everyone gets happy and they start working.
Yeah, they're more motivated and they think you care and they believe you care.
Yeah, that's so true. Okay, driving on, stay healthy. Now, it sounds like with your background, I know you still run, but stay healthy. I guess you got to stay healthy. Is that what's it mean to you, stay healthy?
Well, that's right. I mean, if you can't stay healthy, everything else is moot. I started lifting weights in high school and played all kinds of sports. I lift weights to this very day. I run some. I pedal the bike. I try to get to the gym 2 or 3 times a week, but yeah, everybody needs to do that to stay healthy.
Yeah, and set the example. You know, in politics, you can talk about staying healthy and help people, but in the United States, we have an obesity problem. What should government do or not do to improve our obesity in the United States?
Well, I think that goes to the part about personal responsibility and personal accountability. You know, people in this country, for whatever reason, eat too many carbs. And for me, I try to focus on eating majority of my meals in proteins and vegetables. I mean, and that's where it is. You have tremendous calories and carbs, and you're not burning them. The other thing that people don't understand, I think, is that muscle takes a lot more energy to keep going than fat. And so if you maintain your muscle mass, you're going to do much better. By the time we hit 30, we lose a pound of muscle mass each year. So if you're not doing something like resistance training to keep that up, you're gonna deteriorate over time.
Right, right, right. But the thing is, you're at federal level. Really, it's down to the schools, local, and set the example at all levels for other people to follow, so they understand the importance.
Well, I think that's very true, and that's what leaders do. They
Yeah.
set the example. I think some of the discussions here allows us to talk about leadership and what people need to look at.
Right, right. So staying healthy, and the next one is focus. What does focus mean to you?
Well, that's that single-mindedness. There's some people that I watched, today they're going to be a fireman, tomorrow they're going to be going to space, the next day they're going to be doing this. Single focus is really deciding what you want to do and sticking with it. As I talked earlier, I thought about running for Senate 6 years ago. And to this very day, now I'm doing it. And I'm going to be successful and I'm going to win this election.
That's good. That's focus. It's definitely focus to do what you're doing. So my hat's off. And then finally, and I like this one, is make a difference. Make a difference. What does that mean?
Throughout my entire career in the Air Force, I took on a lot of organizations that were limping along. And making a difference was always being able to leave that assignment to the next assignment. And I had 11 and 22 years and say, yes, I made it better. I left it better. And the people that I left in charge were going to carry forward on it.
Very good. Hey, Tom, we're going to take a break and then we're going to come back and ask how the listener can get a hold of you. And we say let you put your commercial in. But for your commercial on the break, we're going to actually put your real commercial in. How's that? You got a real
Sounds
commercial.
good.
And then we'll finish up with one last question.
Thanks, Bill.
Okay, Tom, coming off the break, that was one heck of a commercial. Excellent commercial. That's down in Las Vegas playing right now, I think, isn't it? Or somewhere down there.
Yes, that's going to be playing starting on the 16th.
Okay, that's great. So we got an early review of the commercial. That's great. It's coming. This will be out. The show will be out on the 7th or 8th of May. So
16th of May.
16th of May. Okay, got you. Very good. Hey, we got something special here. We got an early commercial. And how can the listener find your campaign? What's the best place to find it?
Well, I would suggest the listener go to tomheck4ussenate.com. It kind of tells a little bit about me and what I care about. And then, I'm happy if they want to call me.
What number?
775-303-7299, and I'm happy to talk about. I would really like them to ask me if they have questions that they have doubts about me, have them call me.
Say that number again.
775-303-7299.
I think it's so important in today's society to actually get on the phone and talk to people.
I agree with you. If I could talk to every voter, I would really appreciate that. The voters I talk to that listen to my story and my reasons for doing this usually walk away saying, "I'm voting for you, Tom."
Very, very good. Very good. Well, Tom, we're going to ask one last question since you're from Nevada. Oh, I left something out. Break. Tom, anything special you want to say or anything you want to stop? I'm gonna edit this. You'll see this in the video because we don't edit the video much. But Tom, what can the listener do for you?
I think the listeners can go to my website, and if they really are supportive, they can go and donate. They can call and offer to volunteer, and they can actually really talk to 10 other people about me and tell them why they think I'm the guy to vote for. And if every person that really gets into my background and understands what I'm about talks to 10 people, we will carry this election in the primary. And I need about 40,667 votes.
You know exactly what you need.
That's what I need.
This is a small state. That's not too much to win a U.S. Senate primary.
Well, there's some good candidates out there, but I think I would also encourage the listener, go look at their voting record and see if their voting record matches what they want. Go to conservativereview.com. They have their voting record.
Very good. Very good. We'll put that link up on timelines at timelinesofsuccess.com or timelinesnetcast.com. And episode 250 something, 58 or 9. I don't want to say the exact episode. So one last question. You live in Northern Nevada. How long have you been in? You've been here for a while. So what do you like? I'm going to stop. Well, Tom, one last question. You live in Northern Nevada. What do you like best about the state?
I think I like everything about this state. I think the big two things is, I like skiing and golfing. And I know that, last April I went out skiing in the morning and golfing in the afternoon. I love the weather, sunny 330 days out of the year. And, a lot of the casinos bring a lot of nice entertainment and a lot of fun meals, wine meals that have wine for each course. It's a great place to live. And I think but I love all that sunshine.
It is, except it's not a sunshine today. We have a rainy day. We've had a lot of rain and snow this year, which is wonderful in the north. Our Truckee River is up. But also you mentioned golf. Las Vegas and Northern Nevada, they're two different areas, but they both have great things to do. And that golf is good down in Las Vegas too.
Yeah, that's my passion. I tell people I don't play golf until I'm tired. I play golf until dark.
Yeah. I bet you've played Nellis before.
I have played Nellis. The cool thing about Nellis, the day I was playing, there was F4s flying over F15s, C17s. It was like a pass and review for my golf game, but maybe that day it wasn't quite as good.
It's a beautiful golf course too. And
it is.
The grass and the quality. Well, Tom, we want to thank you for coming on. We wish you the best in this next cycle, and we'll probably have some other candidates on too as we approach the primaries and the general election. So after you win, should it be, we'll have you back on for the general election. How's that?
I'm looking forward to it.
And thank
all
you.
I can say is to the viewers is if they should be tired about career politicians because they've been voting for a long time different than the way they're talking. So I think I need to say that differently.
Go ahead and you say it again. I'll cut it.
The last thing I would say to the voters, aren't you tired of career politicians who spend more time looking out for themselves than doing their job? And the country hasn't gotten better. So if you're voting for career politicians and expecting something different, I think most people will call that insanity.
Well, Tom, that was well said. I want to thank you for your service to the country. And I want to thank you for running for office because I know how tough it is to run for office. It's a tough, grueling job.
Thank you for your time. It's been fun.